position. Rise up, make that decision. God will provide all your needs. He wants you to succeed. Have faith of a mustard seed. Get up on your feet. Rise up.
Welcome to another segment of the Drexel Seymour Show, a show where we encourage you to rise up and take your position. Now, this show, I'm interviewing someone from diaspora, the Turks and Caicos Islands. And you know, there are more Turks and Caicos Islanders living abroad than there are in the country itself. I think in Turks and Caicos, there are probably about 10,000 Turks and Caicos Islanders. And I'm quite sure probably about 50,000 or so, probably in the Bahamas alone. And maybe, I don't know, another 25 to 30,000 in the US. And so today I'm so honored to have this opportunity to sit down with Mr. Bentley Hamilton, who was born in the Turks and Caicos Islands, but left here in 1965. And I wasn't even born yet. I was born 5 years later. And I just want to have a discussion with him so we can showcase some of our people living abroad. We have some very, very successful people living abroad. And one thing I could say is that Mr. Hamilton has not forgotten his roots. He has not forgotten the Turks and Caicos. He's here on a regular basis. He even has a home here. And that's what I like about him as well. He has not forgotten his place of birth. And so, Mr. Hamilton, just want to welcome you to the Drexel Seymour Show.
Thank you, Drex.
Yes. Now, before the show, you was telling me that you left the Turks and Caicos Islands in 1965. What made you to leave? I know things probably was really rough back then.
Right. I will give you a synopsis of that, and if you want to know any more, I'll open it up. But
sure.
Just before I left, I had done a year in high school. And then we had a very revered educator, headmaster, and his name was Charlie Best.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought with him from Barbados a team of qualified high school teachers. They all had degrees and so on. And it was like a wave or a renewal or renaissance of education to this island. Because before then, even at my age, I could see the ebbing away of education, and he reinforced everything. And you can ask anybody who were around in Charlie Best's time. In my group, there was Lil Swan, there was Hartley Colbert, there was Smokey, and on and on. And all these people contributed in some way. There's a guy they call Sarge. He's in the States now. He did a radio show.
Richard Williams?
Richard Williams.
Yes, okay.
So I can go on and on. My team were very successful people. And I wasn't here to show that, but I did it abroad.
Yeah.
And then my father, who was a soldier, when he came back, he worked briefly at the Pan American base on the southern side of
Grand Turk.
Grand Turk. And he wasn't too settled with that. He wanted more opportunities because he was a builder, and of course he was a soldier. He was exposed to more than this. So he left and he went to the Bahamas, in Nassau, Bahamas. And a lot of people know his nephew, Max Hamilton.
Yes.
So he and Max form a team, and they worked together. And they were building business buildings and hotels and so on. So my mother said, why don't you go and join your father? There's nothing here for you. So I guess you can call that going away for economic reasons.
But you're still in high school.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I had good friends here. I didn't want to go, but I did. And I finished my education abroad, stayed a little while in the Bahamas, did some courses there, did accounting courses there. And I got my RCA, Advanced Accounting, Royal Society of Art, Pittman Institute. So even at that age, I was able to make a living, but not in the field that she thought I would go. She thought I would join which I did for a while.
She thought you was going to do what?
Join my father
In the construction business.
Right, and that was not my thing.
Mhm.
So I went to business school in the Bahamas for a while, and I graduated with the Royal Society of Art, Advanced Accounting. I think they later changed over to the Pittman Institute, which is all from England.
Right.
So I left the Bahamas and I went to New York. And then I did some more studies, and I did computer programming, computer operations and programming. And that's when they had the big frame computers where you had the punch cards and so on. And then I returned to the Bahamas in 1970. And everything was opened up to me.
That's the year I was born.
Yeah, okay. Trust Corporation hired me. And Trust Corporation was the sister company of a banking institution called Roy West in Nassau, Bahamas. And they built this huge, big building that's still there on West Bay Street. And you had to be special to get there. They didn't just let you in there.
It's very competitive.
Yeah, very competitive. And all the young fellas they hired had gone off to United States and did further education and come back. And that seemed to have been the standard they were looking for to admit you to work for Trust Corporation. And so I did more there in my studies. Back then it was correspondence studies. And I got tired of that. Oh, I got to tell you this one, because while I was working at Trust Corporation, I was assigned to this guy who was called David Lamb. And this guy around here, his name is Tony Lancaster. Somebody told me he's here.
Really?
Yeah. And he's going to hear this.
Yeah.
Right?
He's working at Turks and Caicos Banking Company, I think.
I don't know what he is, but
yeah.
I was told he's here.
Yes, he is.
David Lamb was his friend. David Lamb was a CPA and a lawyer, an attorney. So I was assigned to David Lamb. And I worked in their accounting department, preparing financial statements for a short time. And then they said, well, you got all this computer knowledge and so on. Let me send you over to the the data, they call it data processing department, where you receive the accounting statements and then you got to automate them to send off to the people that own this and that and the other. It's called the Trust Corporation. So they were trustees for a lot of the businesses in the Bahamas. So that's the environment I was in. And so I worked there, and after a while, Tony, excuse me, Tony and David, they were good friends, and they used to play squash together.
Okay.
So one day, Tony was the president of NEM, which is a Jamaican company, insurance company.
Okay.
And he told my boss, David Lamb at Trust Corporation, I need a controller over at NEM, and I need somebody who can grow with the company. And he said, why don't you send me Bentley? And they negotiated all of that. And David came back to me and said, this is a good opportunity for you. I mean, you named the price, and he wants you. So, and he's my friend. He's going to treat you well. Just go over there.
That's awesome.
So he says, no question asked, no interviews, just go. He wants you, and I'm sending you.
That means they were impressed with what you did.
On the strength of my boss at Trust Corporation.
Yeah.
He said, just send the man. I want him.
Wow.
So I almost doubled my salary, and they just sent me all that. I went over there, and I worked for Trust Corporation, NEM, for a while. And I formed the accounting department for them, and I was very successful there. And I had opened a restaurant / club. And I also was a Toastmaster at the time, and I knew everybody, so I was all up in the society. And that was good for the restaurant and club that I had opened. So Tony heard about this club. I do my work, and then after I get off, I go to the club and see how I was doing. I had people working the club. It's not that I got to go to open a club and so on. And one day, Tony called me into his office, and Tony, we never talk about this since then, but he said to me, he says, "I want to talk to you." And I said, "Well, here I am." He says, "Well, I heard about your club." And he said, "I just want to tell you, one man can't serve two masters." You know what that sounds like, right? And I said, "Okay." And that was discouraging to me. He didn't know that. I'm a young guy building myself.
And then you didn't let that interfere with your job.
No,
You did it after hours.
So I just left.
And you had people working.
Yeah, so this time I left the Bahamas. That was for good. And I just went to the States. And
so you closed the
Yeah, I sold it. Mr. Glinton was the security guy. I don't know what his background was, but he had a security company on West Bay Street near Government High School. And I took a building he had and renovated and refurnished it and all that and opened the club.
So you were a citizen of the Bahamas?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this is all my family, they settled there. So that was not a problem. But after I experienced that, I didn't want to encounter that kind of experience again. So I just went to the States and never looked back. And I went to school again, and I have a master's degree in management, and I have two businesses. Actually two main businesses. I got some other things going on there too. I have my healthcare business that I had for 32 years. And I used to have partners who, people fall along the way and they're not performing to their requirements, what is required of a partner. And I would have to buy them out. And I'm not a sole owner of a healthcare business that is 32 years old.
So what all the healthcare business does?
The healthcare is a long-term provider business. So we take care of people. We take care of young adults to seniors. And we have a way of grouping them in facilities that the demographics are compatible. You don't take somebody who is young and mix them with a senior, or someone who is very highly functioning with somebody who is slower, have some disabilities, some intellectual disabilities. So we kind of pair them in the right grouping, and then we provide all of the services they would need. We provide them, for instance, we're very heavily nursing. So I'd say 2/3 or maybe half of the business is nursing, and the rest is more than that. It's also what we call habilitation, where the people with intellectual disabilities, that mostly applies to habilitation, mostly applies to that. That word habilitation mostly applies to them, because a lot of people like to say rehabilitation.
Right.
But rehabilitation applies to something, or it indicates or implies that you're trying to regain something you had.
That already, right.
But habilitation means you probably didn't have it, but we're improving on whatever you had.
Makes sense.
And we're trying to bring you to your maximum potential.
Got it.
And that's what we do. So we have physical therapy, speech therapy, recreational therapy, nursing. We have dentists, we have nurses, we have doctors, and so on. Now, all of those people are not necessarily on my payroll. However, I like to have at least a supervisor, on my payroll that you can control more.
So you probably outsource some of
the rest of those people are consultants.
Got it.
And they have to comply with our requirements, what we need, because we also are very connected with the government. The government controls a lot of what we do. This is a highly regulated business, taking care of people.
Makes sense.
So that's the healthcare business. 2 years or 3 early into that business. And I should back up, because I was working in New York as an accountant. That was
Mhm.
my daily business and so on. And then I got transferred to Washington, D.C. Well, actually, I didn't get transferred. My fiance had gotten
Okay.
transferred, and I moved on a holiday to look my vacation to look around and see if I liked the place. And I just dropped out some feelers for a job, and I got a job. I got many
Wow.
offers. I
Yeah.
took
Yeah.
the one with a television company
Okay.
that was based in New York,
Okay.
and they put me through the fifth degree for that job. They had a screener there. Then they flew their vice president to Washington to see me
Oh,
before they
wow.
took me to see the
Okay.
president. And then the president said, "I don't know what that's accounting, that's finance. I don't
Mhm.
understand that stuff. You got to see my CPA." The guy had a
Mhm.
CPA firm, and he brought that guy in to interview me.
Mhm.
The guy threw his hands up. He said, "Man, they don't know what they're doing. They should hire you before you go somewhere else. Why they call me to,
Wow.
So he liked me. Everybody liked me.
Right. Right.
And they had, paid my way off of my vacation. They said, "Let's come to New York. You got to meet the president and his confidant." And so I went up there and they loved me and they hired me on the spot. So they said, "Nah, you can go back," and they paid for all this. "You can go back to Washington and finish your vacation. And then you got to start setting up office there because we're already just moving here right now." I worked for them for 7.5 years
Mhm.
as a business manager and controller. And at some point, I had an opportunity to move into the healthcare business. A lot of people are like, "Why did you leave TV?" I mean, it's a very glamorous business. I used to go to LA every year to the convention that we hosted,
Right.
and there were stretch limousines and all these things, but you want to do something for yourself.
Exactly.
And I kept my day job for a while as I developed the healthcare business. And the rest is history with the healthcare
Yeah.
business. There's a lot of more details I can fill you into at another time or when
Mhm.
you ask the question. But um, I then decided to, after 3 years into the healthcare business, there was an opportunity. Um, a guy who was a professor of economics at Howard University and we had a mutual friend who was a vice president at Marriott. And so that person told us, "Well, why don't you do some hotels? Because Marriott has been criticized by the NAACP for not having any Black ownership."
Mhm.
And she said, "The time is right. You got to be qualified. You got to have some business experience and you got to have some money." But she believed that we both had that and that we should apply
Mhm.
for a franchise
To the
license.
Marriott.
Yeah. So we applied for uh, the first franchise license and it was approved. And, they thoroughly checked the background, whether you had any business experience and all that. And once they approved it, then we brought on two other um, partners. One is an attorney, and one was a Ford Motor
Mhm.
executives. And so and four Black guys, and we um, build our own building. We had to come up with some money, of course, to have the down payment for a building. Then we found the financing, with whatever bank that gave it to us, and we built a hotel that complied with the Marriott
Okay.
requirement. Okay, and because we already had the franchise
Right.
license,
Right.
and we did the feasibility study and all that stuff because Marriott wouldn't let you do something
Mhm.
unless you did all this stuff.
Exactly.
There's no guess work with Marriott. It's all
Mhm.
scientific and by the books. So we build the first one and put it online. Build the second one, put it online. Build the third one, put it online. We've got two Tom Place suites, and then we've got a courtyard,
Okay.
and we're building a Spring Hill place.
Okay.
And we got a residence, and we got
We need one in Turks and Caicos.
we got license. Yeah, we got license to do 5, and we're on the 4th one, but we've got COVID stopped us with the 4th
Okay.
one, so we have everything in place to start building all the permits and licenses and so on.
It's very impressive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's where I am with that. light stuff. I got some vans that I leased. It's transportation business, handicap transportation. These vans have the lifts and all that stuff. What else do I have? The vans, and basically, some other things that really not that important.
Right.
But my mainstay is the
It's
healthcare and the hotels.
And the hotels,
Yeah.
right? Now, you've been in business for quite a long time. What are some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. Fortunately, and you will understand this because you're an accountant. If you have an accountant or financial background, you can read balance sheets and income statements. People only have to put the paper in front of you, and you can tell them what's going on in the business. A lot of people don't know that.
That's true.
And I had an experience with a business here. I can't say the names and so on. And that was happening in that way that first there was a lot of discussion and consultation, and I was seeing those statements and I was giving advice as to what to do, and the business was flourishing. And then suddenly I said something about the balance sheet. I put it on some stuff with the balance sheet, some major stuff. And that scared them, so they stopped sending the balance sheet. and that was a pathway that it started slipping down.
Right.
That lack of communication and this lack of trust, and unfortunately, it faded away. But to answer your question, with that kind of, if you're equipped that way with that kind of background, business is not that hard for you.
Okay.
But one of the things I find with people is that you can't do everything yourself all the time. And it's that mistrust about each other in getting into a partnership that works.
Very good point.
And all I recommend when you're getting into a partnership is to have the documents. If you want some agreements, do a partnership agreement, do a management agreement, whatever. But once you do that, it protects you. Partnerships could be tough sometimes. But again, if you're guided by those agreements, you'll be okay.
Yeah. And it takes, being by yourself, you face more, you have a lot more liabilities. You are stressed out, but at least you can share with the partnership.
Right. Because
you delegate different things.
Right. Because in partnership, you have a wealth of experience all in one house.
Yes.
And you take what you're good at, and somebody else takes what they're good at, and so you have this partnership working together.
Yeah. I met this guy the other day, an American guy. He's trying to establish some businesses here, and he was saying he's very surprised to see how many people here, particularly Turks and Caicos Islands, who don't want to be in a partnership. They'll probably borrow the money, whatever.
That's right.
And do it themselves.
That's right.
They don't want that partnership.
That's right.
I guess lack of trust, like you say.
Lack of trust.
They've been hurt in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that's a big issue. We don't want to be in partnership.
Yeah. And look, it's not only locals that have that mistrust and so on.
No. Mm-hmm.
Black Americans, I don't know because I'm not a white person, but Black Americans have that same problem. Well, some of them, because look, I'm Black and I'm an American now, I'm a citizen. And my partners all saw the need or the benefit in becoming partners, that there's strength in numbers, and there's also knowledge, like they say, 2 eyes see better than one, So when you've got a combination of experience and resources, you can do better, than one person.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that point up, because that's a big issue we have here in Turks and Caicos. So I'm hoping people watching this video would be encouraged to consider having partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you might be doing well as a solo,
Yeah.
one person sole proprietor, but think of where you can go in a well-formed and managed
Yeah.
partnership.
Yeah. You could even be bigger with a
Yeah,
partnership.
that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with this. Uh, look at these hotels don't cost a penny. And I don't know if you're going to find one person who can build a decent hotel by himself.
Right.
You know, form a partnership. I'm sure there are enough people here, businessmen here, local businessmen here, who can form a conglomerate or a partnership and build some hotels here. And they have to have more advantage in doing so in terms of land and import, you know, the materials and other. I'm sure that the government will give you some kind of exemption because you're local.
Yeah, I'm quite sure they would.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something you may want to consider whenever you come again. Maybe, you know, have a session with some of us and encourage us to come together and build businesses together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a good point, because if these businessmen, the local businessmen here, can see the benefit in growing by leaps and bounds, and not just today, okay, I have this building, tomorrow I have another apartment building. They can look beyond that. They can look at, oh, I have a hotel on the beach.
That's it.
I have another hotel on the beach. Stuff like that.
That's it.
And you can't achieve that in today's world by being one person, unless you are Onassis, the guy who died, the rich guy who Kennedy's wife had married, or Bill Gates, nowadays modern day guy, or fellows like that, Warren Buffett, these rich people, they can do anything.
Yeah.
And Moss with the guy who owns, one of them owns Amazon, and the other one owns. He was trying to buy out Twitter the other day.
Yeah, you know more than you know more than I do when it comes to that.
Right? But these guys play with money that way.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I think that's a very, very good point, because a lot of us, we complain a lot. We watch the Turks and Caicos Islands growing and at a fast rate, and we see all this stuff happening. And if you were to examine what's happening, you'll see people came together and build their businesses.
That's right.
Together.
That's right.
Absolutely. Rather than us. And then a lot of us too, we are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Individually.
Exactly.
Imagine if we could pool our resources together. Rather than competing with each other, we come together. You increase your market size. You're able to do well.
That's right. And I'll just mention this. You hadn't asked it yet, but with regards to the diaspora, we have a lot of talent in the United States. And some of the people were here recently, and a lot of them, we have professors, and we have this and that and the other, very qualified people, and they all want to help. They want to give back, and they put me in charge. I'm the chairman of the diaspora, and we're organizing in a way that we will bring in all the other areas in the United States, and you can then, I guess you can refer to them as branches. But right now, the people who are involved are basically participants from Washington, D.C., and from New York, and from Miami, Florida.
Okay.
But then, there's more to the United States than that, so we're going to branch out. What we wanted to do is properly form first, so we can operate in a professional manner, and we've filed articles of incorporation, and we've developed our bylaws, and the next step will be membership.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And then I also I know sometimes persons with the diaspora they get discouraged
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
feel that we that live here in Turks and Caicos sort of reject them or don't want them.
Exactly. That's a sensitive
Now
issue.
that I don't comprehend.
Right.
But there are some people who do not
Right.
do not have an appetite
Right.
for the diaspora. They say, "Oh, they left us." And to me, and listen, yeah, you're Turks and Caicos Island. I don't care how long you were away, and if you could contribute,
Mhm.
I think we should have an open hand, open arms,
Yeah.
and welcoming help
Yeah.
from diaspora.
You're right about that. And I see what's happening. I've heard of stories, and I've even had relatives who live in England who came back here and tried to contribute and experienced some issues. But I have never experienced those kinds of problems because, like you said earlier, I kept in touch
Yeah,
with the homeland.
yeah.
And I own something here. I never came back looking for anything.
Mhm.
I think the contention here, when jobs were scarce, they're not necessarily scarce now, and people happened to come back
Yeah.
and they were competing for the same jobs. So people said, well, oh, you went away when things were tough. Now things are a little better, and you're coming back trying to take the jobs.
To me,
That's small. Like, that's a small way of thinking.
yeah, to me, I don't think
Yeah.
it's necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, at the moment, we have, I think, about 15 to 16,000 work permit holders here.
Yeah.
And so we could get the grandchildren, the children of those who left. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. But well, right now,
There's nothing wrong with that.
right now, I'm sure that our government is recruiting from the
Yeah.
Bahamas. So,
Well, they should. I think they should.
Right.
I think they
Because you
should.
have the need.
And then we also have similar cultures.
Yes,
You know,
that's right.
So I
That's
think
right.
we should. Some people may not like it, but
So I hope we can go beyond that small-minded way of thinking, even towards your own.
But I think
people.
it's just a few.
Yeah.
I don't think the majority of us feel that way.
Yeah.
I think it's just a few people.
Yeah.
And sometimes only a few people speak out,
Right.
and they end up becoming like the majority, but they're not necessarily the majority. They're the ones who make it a noise.
Right. Right.
But the majority, I think, is silent. But I don't think the majority are against, the diaspora.
I would hope
We're
not.
Turks and Caicos Islanders.
Yeah, right. I would
You
hope
know.
not. And we're the same family.
Yeah, we
to
are.
people here that the families who are here,
one
who didn't
family.
go anywhere. You talk
one
to them.
family.
Oh, I know this person from West Road. Oh, I know this person from Blue Hills. Oh, I know this person from Salt Key. They're the same people. They're not strangers.
We
And-
should be encouraging people to return home.
Yeah. And anyway, I'm in a good position to bring them together. I'm pooling all of the resources there because they want to give back, but they don't
Awesome.
want to be rejected. You know?
Yeah.
And I, fortunately, have never been rejected because they kept my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And I also kept involved with people like you and our government,
Yes.
people, and so that kind of got me out of that kind of situation where people resent me. I don't know anybody who resents me. Maybe they are, but I don't know them.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. I think you should, I hope you and the rest of the team abroad encouraged to do their part.
Yeah.
I don't think
That's what the diaspora is all about.
Yeah.
We're pooling those resources so that we can work closer with the government and the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands to advance whatever they want to do, education, even culture.
Yeah.
We know there's a problem with population. And we want to look at how that can be balanced.
Yeah.
You don't want to be overtaken or overcome.
Yeah.
You just want to balance.
Yeah. Even finding, I think, even if the diaspora could help us with some of us, who reside here, at least for 1 year, 2 years of getting some experience abroad.
Yeah.
And then they return to Turks and Caicos.
Absolutely.
I think we lack that as well.
Yeah.
Because some of us, as soon as we finish college, we come home, which is good. I'm glad that people come home,
But no experience.
but we need some experience.
Right.
So even if there's a way that there's some sort of recruitment
Mhm.
for a temporary period of time,
Right.
And I mean, that will be a great help. Or
Yeah.
even some of you could come here for a couple of months and share your talent with us as well.
You can do seminars
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be calling on people like you. We'll be reaching out to you to point us in the right direction.
Of course, anytime.
Tell us what you think will benefit the local community more, and we'll work on that.
Anytime.
That's what we want to do.
Anytime. So what made you decide to, continue to be involved in the Turks and Caicos? I mean,
yeah.
Because some people have left and have no intention of even returning or have never returned.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Because when I left as a kid, just at the top of being a young guy, a teenager,
right?
I never looked back, and I count the years, and it was 30-something years before I ever touched foot back in Turks and Caicos.
Really?
30-some years, and when I did,
and your mom was here?
Yeah, she was here, still in Grand Turk. And I shared my time between here, Provo, and Grand Turk.
Mm-hmm.
And the first person that I actually got in touch with in Provo was Mike Missick.
Okay.
He was driving this big Mercedes.
When he was premier?
He was doing real estate there.
Oh, he was real estate. Okay.
And he latched on to me because we know each other.
Okay.
I didn't quite know him that well because he was younger.
Right.
I know Premier better.
I know Washington.
But Mike just latched on to me, and he showed me around, and everywhere he went, he took me, and he showed me such a great time. And then Michael Taylor is related to me. He was an inspector of police.
Right.
And he did the same thing. And I said, oh my God, all these people are treating me so well, and I've been away so long. I got to start coming back home.
Okay.
So that's what inspired me to start coming back home. And then I say, okay, not only am I going to come back home, I'm going to invest. I'm going to buy something here. And I just kept coming back. And before I know it, there's no distance or space between me and Turks and Caicos Islanders.
I'm so glad. And I mean, I hope this interview encourages others to come home as well.
Yeah.
Even if only for a visit,
Now, that doesn't stop me or stop anyone from doing what you're doing abroad. I have business responsibility in the States, and I have to maintain that, but I find a way to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to, take this opportunity again to thank you for being on the show. I really enjoyed the show. I'd love to have you again. I don't know if you have any closing remarks you want to share that perhaps we have not covered.
No, I appreciate talking with you, and I share the same goals that you share in terms of advancing the young folks, especially of Turks and Caicos Island, to make it a better place for them and for all. And with my business experience and so on, I'm open to you anytime you want me to discuss anything. And I appreciate talking with you, being on your show.
Well, thank you. You've been watching the Drexel Steamer Show with Mr. Bentley Hamilton, who is a Turks and Caicos Islander living abroad. He's not a U.S. citizen as well. And I hope that this show has provided you with a lot of information. It has provided me, particularly the point on partnerships. I know that's a lot of us weary of that. And I hope now, after listening to Mr. Bentley and see the businesses that he has, where he has partners, I hope that we are encouraged. And I believe if we could get more of us together as partners, I think we'll be able to accomplish a lot more here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And I know it can work. I know there's a lack of trust among us, but at some point, we need to trust each other. And I hope that you are encouraged and that you will rise up and take your position. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel.